Thanks so much for joining us at 10. I'm Mark McPherson. The escalating tensions between Israel and Iran are causing concern around the globe, including right here in Wisconsin. Tonight, WMTV's Shana Najawan shows us how two local voices with very different perspectives are united in the call for peace. Shana.
That's right. One has spent years volunteering in Palestinian communities. The other, a local rabbi with many ties to Israel. Both say the impact of war reaches far beyond the Middle East, and the path to peace won't be found through military force.
People are afraid of being harmed.
As tensions rise between Israel and Iran, Cassandra Dixon says the impact is personal.
The person I was texting with, his wife is recently pregnant. She's stressed out. And they sent me video of these things flying overhead is just like, what can you possibly do? You're a civilian on the ground in a small place.
Dixon has spent years in Palestine, volunteering in rural shepherding villages in the West Bank. She says some have now been wiped off the map.
Things are unbelievably worse. I mean, oppression doesn't get better. Oppression is oppression, and it can only get worse.
She believes U.S. military aid to Israel has complicated the crisis.
What we could do to help make the world a safer place is stop arming Israel.
People are unease.
Rabbi Jonathan Prosnit of Temple Bethel says that fear is being felt locally in their community too.
There's lots of friends in the land of Israel and lots of colleagues in Israel that are currently in bomb shelters.
While he understands why Israel feels threatened, he agrees violence won't bring peace.
A nuclear Iran, really threatens the true existence of the state of Israel. But to know that there's not really ever a military response that will end the conflict.
And despite different experiences, they both call for a different path forward.
Only by talking to each other will we ever manage that.
And the problems will have to be solved through some combination of understanding and dialogue. And that will take real courage. And to sort of say that we are willing to dream of and aspire a better future for all of our countries and all of our regions.
And as tensions continue to rise abroad, both say they'll keep engaging locally, hoping conversations here can shape understanding and action. Live in studio, Shana Najawan, WMTV 15 News.
Shana, thank you. Nearly 80 people have been killed, including top Iranian officials, and more than 300 are injured. Israeli officials said it launched the attack over growing fears about a rapidly growing nuclear program. Iran retaliated with a barrage of missiles, and more than 30 people are injured.